Next, I'd like to introduce you to Rebekah. Rebekah is joining us here, and she's going to talk to us about art therapy. One of my favourite things in life is art. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right,
Hi everybody, I'm an art psychotherapist. Usually I just shorten it to art therapist. I'm going to talk to you a bit today about what art psychotherapy is. There's quite a lot of misconception in the world, I think, about maybe caused by movies that you might have seen. So art therapy uses creative arts-based activities as a basis for counselling clients. Since the beginning of time, as Sarah was talking about with touch, humans have used artistic expression to make meaning of what it's like to live in the world. 40,000 years ago in a cave in Spain, people of the area painted hand stencils and patterns onto the ancient cave walls. We see mysterious symbolic images of predators and wild beasts in those dark Chauvet caves in France 10,000 years later. And then much later than that, the ancient Egyptian civilization developed their symbolic hieroglyphs and icons to tell stories of their belief systems in their own visual language. Fast forward to the 20th century, and we see Carl Jung and his contemporaries using symbolism as a tool for uncovering the mysteries of the human psyche. Art therapy taps into that very ancient form of expression that humans have been using since the dawn of time. Often words are not enough to express what's happening in a person's world. Words can be reductive and limiting, especially in the face of great trauma, illness or suffering. And I can vouch for that because last year I myself had cancer and went through mastectomy surgery and 7 months of chemo. And quite often I felt like there were no words that could really express what I was going through at the time. Art really did help me through that. The sensory experience can be far more cathartic in the expression of feelings, thoughts and emotions, using the creative, spontaneous right side of the brain, rather than the logical left side that we use to communicate verbally with others. The art therapy experience offers clients the opportunity for non-verbal self-expression, self-awareness, and emotional healing by directly accessing the unconscious mind. And I'll explain a bit about how that works. My role as an art psychotherapist is to facilitate a safe therapeutic environment for that expression to be released. We would never just have someone pouring all of their grief or anger or sadness out onto a page without it being directed, so that's my specialty. Art therapy can help with so many different things, and I do work in quite a few different areas. Today I was working with adults with acquired brain injuries out at Flinders Uni, which I do every week. I also work in private practice and sometimes deal with people going through grief and loss, coping with diagnosis, as I have myself trauma recovery, brain injury, and the list goes on. You can read that up there, and I can talk to you about it later if you want to ask me questions. One thing that there is a bit of a misconception about is that you don't have to be talented to do art therapy. There's no prerequisite for you being able to draw a beautiful portrait of someone. And I always say to a client, if they can draw a squiggly line with a crayon, they can do art therapy without any hesitation. The way it works is that it's the process of creating something that is important in the therapy rather than the product that you get at the end of it. And I always have to dispel that myth right at the start with clients because they've always sort of come to me saying, oh, please don't think that I'm rubbish at this. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter because really what we're doing is working with materials here. Another misconception is that I think Hollywood's responsible for this too. It seems to have imprinted in the minds of many that art therapy is where a psychologist gets a child to draw a picture and then magically somehow the psychologist is able to tell what's going on in that child's mind. But that's not the way I work in my model. The client always interprets their own work. It's not for me to say, oh, I can see a purple-headed monster running up there in the corner or anything. It's the client that has to discover what's in their imagery. For this reason, I think too, people often ask when I tell them that I'm an art therapist, they say, so do you work a lot with children? And I always say, well, actually no, most of my clients are adults. So art mediums is really what my specialty is. I have a deep knowledge about what the inherent sensory qualities of different mediums are. Obviously paint is wet and pencils are dry, but it does go a lot deeper than that. Water paint is quite uncontrollable and flowing, for an example, while textures are permanent and strong. Clay is slippery and cold, while chalk pastels are dusty, smudgy and messy. So this knowledge is really useful in the therapeutic process, as I'm able to select different mediums for clients that I know will resonate with the current issue that they're trying to explore. For example, to help someone express grief emotions in the early stages, I might offer them watercolour paint to create their artwork, because this resonates and taps into that sensory wateriness of tears and flowing uncontrollable emotion. For someone who has used phrases like being in a sticky situation, I might give them glue and paint mixed up together, as this would resonate with their metaphoric language. For someone dealing with a confusing situation and muddled thoughts, I might ask them to use chalk pastels, because they have inherent qualities of being foggy, hazy, misty, all of those things that represent confusion. Additionally, the chalk pastel colours can be blended together to create blurry lines. So you can see how using the qualities of certain mediums can speak to a person's lived or felt experience through the psyche in a sensory way rather than a verbal one. This process helps access the unconscious mind that has stores of what we call pre-verbal intelligence. And it helps create a bridge between the cognitive narrative forms of thought and sensory felt forms of thought, which then assist the client to create new ideas and insights about their problems or issues. So yeah, I was just talking about resonance there, but resonance can also be challenging. If a client has an issue where their life is chaotic or unorganised and messy, but they want to create more structure and order to feel better, I might start off by offering them something to resonate with the current messiness or chaos they're experiencing, so they can fully express what it's like for them to feel that. But then as I move through the therapy, I might choose a sculpting medium to help them rehearse the building of the structures. And this actively challenges the current deficit of the order in their lives by using materials to construct form and order out of matter. The final object then can take on a metaphoric meaning that symbolises the change they want to make in their life. They've essentially taken the thought of I want to have more order in my life and brought it out into the physical world so that it becomes externalised and recognisable in shape and form. So a bit about the way the therapy sort of evolves. We always begin with witnessing, so it's really important to let a client fully express what they're currently feeling before we can move on to trying to resolve that for them or help them make a change. And that's where I use those resonant materials to help them get those feelings out. And then we go on to insight generation, which is where often the challenge comes in, and I use mediums that help people develop insights about their issues. The final stage is trajectory, which is often we use things like ritual processes or create objects that they can then take with them as a symbol for that journey that they've been through with me as a therapist. Another way I like to explain to clients how we process the artwork is often when you go out and look up at the clouds and you see, well, it's a bit crooked there now, but you can see a bunny rabbit in the clouds. I like to get the client to look at their artwork that they've created themselves. It's come from within them, but to get them to look at it and see what else they can see. What do they notice about it? So I like that quote from ancient Greek philosophy from Aristotle, where he says the aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. And that really does tie up what art therapy is all about. This is an example of a recent client I had who was going through some grief and loss. She was also very angry, and her initial picture just started out with the blue. she wanted to just get that anger out. So I gave her some oil pastels because it's kind of sticky and a bit yucky, but it's also quite a defined medium. And she drew the blue and then went, yeah, that feels good. And immediately she had a bit of relief from that anger. And she said, but I'm actually still angry about something else to do with this issue. So she drew the squiggly lines up there. And this went on for a while until she realised that she was actually angry about quite a few different things. But through the art process, she was able to identify them into categories where she hadn't been able to do that before because it was all sort of whirring around up in her mind. Externalising an issue through art can be really therapeutic, and the people can see it and they can then investigate what that is. Another way we work with it is it's called phenomenological exploration, which I always stumble over with the pronunciation there. But what we do is rotate the artwork so we can turn it on its side, and I often get the client to look away and sort of wipe, as if you're wiping off a whiteboard, and then to look back at it. And often they'll see something new. So in this orientation, and I'm sorry, it's a bit sort of, because of the wall, it's a bit funny, but she saw a tree with a river and two women sitting by the side of the river, which for her was like her sister and herself, the sister that had passed away. And that, that was extremely cathartic for her to be able to see that. But then we turned it upside down and she saw a swimming pool, like a little paddling pool with she and her sister would sit in as children, and there was a kite up in the sky and there's a sun coming up over the horizon. So you might look at that and just see a bunch of lines and colours and shapes, but for her those symbols were really quite profound and meaningful. So the next thing I just wanted to talk to you about a little bit, and I'm going to finish in a minute because I'll probably get the wind-up music coming, is that it's not just about painting and drawing. There's lots of other ways we can use art therapy. We use psychodrama, which could involve things like puppets, which I'll pass around in a minute and show you another example. We use empty chair technique, which is based in Gestalt type therapy, where somebody who feels like they haven't been heard could talk to a person sitting in a chair who's not there and then have this conversation that goes backwards and forwards. I also use acceptance and commitment therapy quite a lot as a model in my art therapy work. We sort of draw on foundations of psychoanalysis and lots of other different types of psychotherapy models. But just with these puppets, I wanted to show you how a simple wooden peg like this can somehow, in a matter of 10 minutes, become something really powerful. So this was a lady who had binge eating disorder, and she also had quite a lot of self-esteem issues as a result. And she talked a lot about having two parts of her mind that often would be active, and one of them was called Miss Ugly. So she made this puppet where you've got some yucky hair, some big bulbous eyes that are used for looking at everybody's facial expressions and trying to determine what people are thinking about her. The skirt that she's wearing is falling off, so she's going to become humiliated any minute, and she's got these black arms wrapped around herself, and this little veil is to protect her whenever she needs to flip it over and not be seen by anyone. And then we also have Miss Happy, who's her sort of the other part, which is totally the opposite. She's still got the big bulbous purple eyes, but they're different. They're not buttons, they're little diamante things. And she's wearing colourful clothes and she's got wild hair. And so to get the client to then have a dialogue between these two things, that she's externalised those aspects of her own personality in the form of a puppet. And that was really transformative for her, and actually helped her get quite a lot of relief from the issue that she was going through at the time. So I saw that David had used the iceberg before in one of his slides, and so it does seem like we are integrated here, because Sarah used the Egyptian example as well. But I like this image because art therapy helps us tap into this bit, what's underneath. Our conscious mind is the the iceberg that we see at the top, but there's so much beneath that. And our experience of going through chronic disease and mental health issues, you know, it can seem very daunting at times, but art therapy, I think, is what I really believe in it, because I've seen it be so effective for so many people. Helps tap into those things that we don't yet know, and through externalizing through the art, we make discoveries, and it can be very powerful. So, yeah, with my consultation structure, usually it's about a 90-minute session that we then get the full benefit for a client. Anything shorter than that doesn't really allow us time to unpack things and then safely put them back together before we send the person out into the real world. So I also do group therapy work, and I run programs for different things. I'm about to run a program for people with cancer based on the hero's journey, which is another model by Joseph Campbell that sort of traces the line of a hero through a mythical story, and I'll be running that at the end of October, start of November, I think. So if anyone would like to come up and talk to me afterwards about more about art therapy and what it can do, then please do. And thank you for having me to talk tonight. It's been a pleasure.